What you do with your money will change your life. And I mean that literally. I love talking about investing. I love talking about building wealth in a plethora of ways. But when you literally have no money to invest, no money to save, and no money to do with the things that will grow you, then you are completely stuck. You are completely stuck. So I'm going to help you get unstuck and let you know the ways to build a good financial foundation so that you can start investing and building things that are going to work for you. This video is for you. Hey YouTube, it's Teddy Ewing, educating you on financial freedom through entrepreneurship, building your hustle, and generational wealth. And today we're going to talk about personal finance. I talk a lot about cryptocurrency lately, but if you go back to my older videos on this channel and definitely my older videos on The Real Teddy Talks, you will see I'm all about personal finance, personal growth, so you can do the things you need to succeed the way you want to succeed. So if you are on your journey to wealth, but you haven't quite got a hold of your money, or more importantly, your spending of your money, this video is for you. And if you're enjoying content like this, if you're enjoying my older content, please do like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. I got dreams too, and you subscribing and being notified helps me fulfill those dreams. All right, let's talk about personal budgeting. I know it's an awful word, but we have to get the foundation down to build wealth. And that brings me to my disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor. I'm not your financial advisor. So everything I say is my opinion built on my educational background. I have a master's degree in international financial management. I work in budget. I've done it for years with the Department of Defense. So I kind of know about it, but I'm just not your thing. So take it how you want to, take it or leave it. All right, personal budgeting. It's not a bad word. Budgeting is not a bad word. The advent of information and the internet has made it so easy to budget. There are apps like Mint, and we have Quicken, and oh my gosh, there's a plethora of others. I should have looked them up before I had the video, but there are a ton of other apps you can use to help track your finances. And to start with, if you haven't got a handle, you need to write it down. And by write it down, I mean write it all down for at least a month or two. I want you to track every single penny that you spend down to the penny, because that's going to help inform where your money is going and where you can adjust and when. Okay, so the first thing I need you to do is write down every single thing you spend. That is your map to success, because a lot of us make more than enough money. I think I've said before, my grandfather died with more than $1 million in the bank, right, in his investments and whatnot, and this was off of a factory worker salary in the 80s, okay? 80s and before. So it is possible, but you have to get a handle on your money. You got to get a handle on your spending. This is how you're going to activate your freedom, all right? And I recommend that if you haven't, and if you're young enough, try living off of 50% of whatever salary you're given. I know that sounds drastic, but it really isn't. We honestly make more than enough money. The problem is we upgrade our lifestyle to match our paycheck. And that's why it never looks like we have enough money, because we keep upgrading our lifestyle. When if we had just stayed at that downgraded lifestyle when you first started working in your early 20s, all that extra money could have gone to investing. Then when you're 40, you can decide if you even want to work anymore, right? You can start that money being your investments growing, and then you can pull out your 3 or 4% annually and you can live the good life, all right? So let's start with honesty. Honesty is the word of the day. Let's come in this honest. If you don't want to be honest with yourself, you ain't got to be honest with me. I don't need to be in your business. This is just me trying to help you out. Be honest with yourself. There's only you in the room. You got to look yourself in the mirror. Let's move forward. So I have the best way to start with after you've budgeted, you see what you're spending on. That's when you want to cut out excess spending. And even if you are saving 50% of your salary, if you don't have a handle on your budget, you still may have excess money that can help your wealth grow. We want to grow wealth as quickly as possible, as soon as possible, and as easy as possible. Okay, so that's what we want to do. So there are 5 places that you can easily cut out your excess spending, and they start with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you're familiar with that term, it's basically your basic needs that are met: your food, clothing, shelter, security. And if you don't have those things met, you are a broken person. Okay, that's what Maslow says, right? So let's start with food. How are you spending your money on food? Number 1, how are you spending money on food? What are you spending on? How often are you eating out? What types of food are you eating? I like to eat natural. I like to eat organic, especially when I was in the United States. That had a premium. Organic foods had a premium cost. But I found ways to make it cheaper by going to the farmer's market, getting with a butcher or someone who owns a farm. And if you eat meat, maybe getting the meat at a discounted rate if you buy in bulk and you have a freezer to store it. Looking at the deals in your circular, X, Y, and Z. There are thousands of ways to get a hold on your spending. If you're eating out often, I assure you that there's ways to cut back on that, make simple meals at home, and do the darn thing. Now, I know this sounds like cliche, like I ain't make enough money, I'm enjoy eating out. Hey, do you? But write down those numbers. Write down how much you're spending, and once you see that you're spending X% of your salary on food or eating out, it may help you reevaluate. Okay, so just do that for me. Keep it to yourself. Do your own evaluation. The next is shelter. Ask yourself, are you in the right place you need to be with your shelter? Do you have too much rent for your budget? Do you have too much mortgage for your budget? Do you live in a nice apartment, but it's kind of expensive, especially when you add everything in and the additional fees? Do you have too much house? It's a house you love and your friends love and you love showing it off and saying you live in that neighborhood, but maybe once you add all of it in, especially if you got HOA fees and all this excess stuff, property taxes, which you didn't realize you had until that first year you owned your home, maybe it's time to reevaluate. I've done another video where I said, hey, it's never too late to backtrack, to start over. So you bought the house. If the market is popping, so you can sell your house. If it's too much house, start over again. Get something smaller. If you're renting too much for your budget, potentially you could sublease, or just wait till your lease is over and try to find something that's just as nice, a little more affordable. I lived in a studio apartment in Atlanta. It was like 800 square feet. And that is just not me. But guess what? I made it work and I loved it. Right downtown, location was great. It was an adjustment with getting rid of all my stuff, but it really helped me in the long run, all right? So check out your shelter, turn off them lights when you're not in the room, turn off that AC when you're not there, get one of those automated temperature adjusters that will maximize the air that's blowing in your apartment. Do all the little things that your mama or your daddy probably made you do when you were young and you got old and grown and forgot about. Next, we have transportation. Do you have too much car for your budget? Is your car payment super high if you're still paying on them? Or maybe you bought your car at a time when your credit wasn't that good, and it's been 2 or 3 years and your credit is much better. Why don't you look into refinancing that? Potentially even taking out a personal loan through your credit union that may have a better interest rate than that interest rate you had when you first bought your car and your credit was bad, okay? So take a look at those numbers. Don't be afraid of the numbers. Don't be afraid to look at what's going on in reality right in front of you and adjust and pivot where you need to, okay? So if you have too much car, see how you can adjust that. See what the value of your car is. I mean, they depreciate so quickly, I doubt you can get value out of it only, a year or two in, but see if that's an option for you. Figure out where you have excess funding. Number 4, clothing. Are you dressing to dress or are you dressing to impress? And if you're dressing to impress, are you a fashionista? Is it gonna make you some extra money being like the best dressed person at work? Is it gonna get you a better job being the best dressed person at work? If it's not, stop spending all your money on designer clothing just to say you got some red bottoms or you have a Louis Vuitton bag or briefcase. You know what? You are your financial future. You're going to make the difference between you and the success of your future. So evaluate your spending, evaluate your money, and decide. Maybe when I was about 30, I came to the conclusion I'm going to spend more money on my clothing and I'm going to buy less of it because I want good quality. So I don't spend money on clothing just to say I have something fancy. I buy good quality clothing that doesn't always need to be dry cleaned. It will last forever, or at least 10 years, and I can keep it and have it in that closet and reuse it. So none of that cheap clothing that gets reused often. So evaluate your clothing purchases. Number 5, your entanglements. Okay, we're gonna say entertainment. I like the word entanglements. Thank you. Who was it? Jada Pinkett Smith for that. What are your entanglements, your entertainment? What are you spending your excess money on? Are you going out to the club? Are you going out? I guess movies aren't a big thing during COVID. But how are you spending your entertainment money? Do you have subscriptions you don't need? Do you have Netflix, Hulu, this, that, and the other thing when you can really consolidate that down to 1 or 2, and you're paying for cable? Figure out your vice. Figure what it is, set a budget, stay within it, and figure out ways to entertain yourself at home that may not cost that much money, or entertain yourself with your family by having more game time and family time that's less expensive, or girlfriend time, or guy friend time, whatever, so that you are spending less money and you are meeting your goals. And then the third step to this whole thing, we have personal budgets, we have how you're spending your money, so how you can find some excess money, and finally, investing. The number 3, investing. You really can't get the most out of your investments until you have covered the first 2 tiers, all right? And when you get into investing, don't let debt stop you. If you're in debt, we all have some form of debt, I imagine, right? So even if you have a mortgage, that's debt. So you have probably some debt. People say good debt, bad debt, debt's debt, okay? So don't let that stop you from investing, but try to maximize the excess money that you can give to your investments. The sooner, the better, because compounding interest is fantastic. It is fantastic. I wish I knew this when I was 21, the true power of compounding interest. All right, I think that's it. I hope I gave it to you in a nutshell. Remember to invest in yourself 1% a day at least to reach your exponential greatness. This is Teddy Ewing signing off.